All right. Sorry that the previous video got cut short. We are doing it over Zoom, and I do not have a pro upgraded version. Um, so it's a little delayed. Um, but I'm waiting for Arjun to join. I have sent him the invite link. Um, yeah, well, hello. So we are talking about the differences. I mean, we talked about a lot of things off topic as well. But we are trying to talk about the difference between living in Northern Ontario, where Arjun is currently living in and has been living there for quite a number of years. And I'm here in Toronto, where I have been living here since 2021. And we're just trying to understand each other's perspective on why one would choose to live in Northern Ontario, other than why would one choose to live here in Toronto. So that is what we are talking about. Hi.
Hello. If you hear a good in the background, that's me making tea.
Oh, herbal or verbal? Obviously herbal.
It's herbal. It's sleepy time tea.
Okay.
I'm just trying it out. I don't usually try any of these kinds of teas, but I'm like, live a little.
Which one? Which one is it that you're trying? Chamomile?
I forget what it is. It's not chamomile. It's a blend of different ones. There's hibiscus, there's mint, there's chamomile, there's uh something else.
Oh, it must be quite flavorful. I have a
Hopefully.
small tea collection.
I don't have a collection. I usually just drink the Munar leaf tea that I get my mother to send to me. That's
Mm,
usually what I drink.
okay,
I'm I'm one of those people who likes things just right.
got it.
And by just right, I mean the way I like it.
For you, yeah, the right way.
My life.
Okay, so we were talking about, we spoke about the commute factor, the differences in commute here in Toronto and Northern Ontario. The second piece that we covered was the employability part for me.
Yeah.
Like the number of employers in my sector is more here in Toronto than compared to Northern Ontario. I think those two are the major two factors. And an additional factor would be I am not a very extroverted person. I I am not. Trust me, I'm not. I really am not. But I like to be around people who make plans and something is happening all the time, even though I do not participate in it very often.
Oh, okay. You just want to feel like you're part of it.
Yeah, yeah. Like if at once in a blue moon, if I feel like going out,
You
I
need the
want to
option.
have, yeah, I need the option of doing that. Because yesterday there was like my roommate and I planned, let's just go out. And we didn't for different reasons. But, during weekdays, sometimes we feel like we have been sitting at home for a very long time and we really need to go out, not just for a walk, but do some kind of activity which is not too expensive, but also like accessible. And it's a work day, so we have to be back at a reasonable amount of time. So stuff like that, I prefer Toronto over Northern Ontario. Again, the
Yeah.
commute factor comes into this as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
If I can speak for I can't speak for Sudbury because it has become very much like GTA, where it's congested, where it's lots of people. There's lots of things to do. If you're somebody who likes going out, if you like parties and stuff, there's all that available. If you want to have a takeout, that's available. There are parks, there are entertainment venues, movies you can go to. Kapuskasing, where I am at, where I chose to be, where I've been, I think this is my third, I'm coming into my third year now. And
Mm,
I like it here because, again, of the three factors that you mentioned, the commute, it doesn't bother me anymore because I now have a vehicle and everything that I need to get to is within a 10-minute radius. Uh, Groceries, important items that I need to, the post office, my work. If I need some to eat out, I don't actually eat out. I just go to Subway and get a sandwich. That's about it. I don't go to restaurants because I cook almost everything I eat. So I prefer home cooked than restaurant because again, there's no Indian or Asian restaurants here. It's all bars and grills and that kind of stuff. And I have no intention of wasting my money on food that has no flavor.
Mm,
And so I'll go to Subway and make a delicious sandwich with like three kinds of sauces, and I'm good. And that's once a month, right?
got it.
Um, so, and I can, if I need to do like shopping for spices and stuff like that, I usually drive to Timmins, which is an hour and a half, 2 hours away. And that gives me a good weekend activity to do. I'll read an audiobook. I listen to an audiobook on the way and coming back, or sometimes I just play music, right? And my attention is focused on that, and it'll be fine. And I get just enough um, urban-ish and ish in all senses of that word for a month or two in that one
Mhm,
trip, and then I'll come back and then I'll be fine. For the employability factor, again, no, most Northern Ontario towns are focused on one particular kind of industry. So Sudbury is a mining town. Kapuskasing is more of a wood industry town because it's based around a wood mill. It's one of the last mills in Canada, I think. I think in Northern America in general, it's one of the last ones, and it's been going on for I think close to a century. I want to say I don't know the exact history of the place, but it's been going for a really long time, and that's the focus of the entire town. And coincidentally, the view from my window is directly towards the mill. I have a really nice view from my apartment. I think I've you've seen pictures of it on Instagram. That's
mhm.
literally from my bedroom. I can look out, and it's oh, my lunch just dinged. I'm air frying some chicken,
Ooh,
tandoori
is it
chicken.
tenders? Oh, tandoori chicken. Okay.
It's tenders, but I wrapped it in tandoori spice with some Korean bulgogi sauce.
Wait, this is
I
what you
go all
ate
out.
last night.
I know it's the same thing. I have a second batch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I like it fresh.
Okay.
So
Got
yeah,
it.
so it's based on a mining town. So most of the it's the biggest employer in this area. So most of the industries are related to it. So this the people who work here are generally employed in the mill or industries relating to the mill. Mining, there's a dam nearby, so there are people employed with that. Then there's seasonal employment, like summer employment, like the forestry department, the fire department. I've seen the military come here for training purposes. There are a few
Oh,
farms here, which is nice. So there's again fresh farmers market produce available. I never go and get it because again, produce me, I don't eat vegetables unless it's frozen and then mushed into my chicken curry. That's the only
that's
way vegetables get inside me. That was a trick my mother taught me.
fine.
And
Okay.
then the other industries are all again localized. So schools, libraries, the various food chains. So we have a KFC, we have a McDonald's, we have a Tim Hortons, we have a
Mm,
few restaurants, we have a few hotels, we have one Walmart, which is tiny, and this Walmart does not have a fresh department per se. It doesn't have meats. It doesn't have. It has a few vegetables and stuff, fruits. Again, it expanded once I joined the team and I brought a lot more items there. Because I used to be a produce department manager in Sudbury, so I was familiar with it. But again, nothing much to talk about. It's mostly a general merchandise kind of grocery store. But most
mm,
of the other items you get from the one independent store. That's there's no food basics, there's no Canadian superstore. So the options are limited, but it's suffices for the community for the most part. So those are the
mm,
employers. So if you are somebody who wants to work in a specific field, again, it doesn't offer anything for that. But social work, mining, those kinds of fields that are very much inviting for people who really want to become part of the Canadian community, uh, Kapuskasing offers those opportunities. And again, I came as somebody who works in retail as an assistant manager, right?
yeah.
So from that, I can see the problems when we are trying to hire people because the pool is quite limited and shallow in all senses of the word. I remember trying to hire students for part-time positions, and there was this one guy, 16, 17 maybe, who would have to go to his car and cry in it every few minutes because his girlfriend was mean to him. Let that just sink in. That's an average person, not even one of the, you know, substandard associates that you can think of. It's somebody who we here would call a regular young guy.
Wait, let me get this right.
Uh-huh.
You were hiring for a part-time position,
Uh-huh.
and some one of
Oh,
the
I wasn't
candidates,
hiring. He was hired.
he was hired. So an
Yeah.
employee, a regular student, a part-time employee who was working at
The
a
location.
company, the company would have to go to his car and cry every other hour or so because his girlfriend was mean to him.
Yeah. And that's just a regular day. I have had people I did once find a line of cocaine in the restrooms.
Oh,
uh in
fun.
I yeah. But again, that's another thing that Sudbury is also very familiar with now. I feel like drug overdoses are again because Sudbury is like a catchment area. So it has the big hospital, so a lot of people come there for treatment and
Mm,
stuff. So that kind of affects the clientele, let's say,
mm,
Cavascasing, because it's again the next big town is about 2 hours in either direction.
mm,
So a lot of people come here, and the people who are from here again, they don't have access to all the services that are available in a bigger city. The
mm,
community tends to take care of itself, but there are always problems, right? But I
mm,
think because the population is again mostly self-contained, it's a lot more insular, and the problems aren't as big as it would be in a bigger city. The people are
mm,
really nice. So if you're somebody who wants to experience real Canada, it's Northern Ontario that you go to. If you want to experience Canada as it was envisioned, let's just say. So it's smaller communities, uh, tight communities, everybody knows each other. You sneeze and you're somebody who you work with or somebody who you're friends with, who work with, whose cousin was married to would know. It's that kind of situation. It's like being in India.
mm, mm,
But the
mm.
only difference is nobody's meddling in your business. You
So
can,
the good parts of being in India, like
yeah,
people take the concern and the care, but not the opinions
yeah,
and
no.
mhm,
The- yeah, that's exactly what it is. So the community is there, and the
mhm,
consequences of being in a community that you would experience in India is not there.
mm,
And also, if you are somebody who wants to invest in a life in Canada, again, Northern Ontario towns and cities are a good option because, um, for example, when I first came to Campus Casing, I found myself a one-bedroom apartment. It's a full apartment, um, and my rent was 675, and it's all inclusive, including my parking.
oh my God.
I know it's almost unthinkable in even today in campus casing. It's almost unthinkable because a lot more people have come in and there's fewer options. The rents have gone up. Um, but if I wanted to buy a house, it would have been possible at the time. I think there was my store manager at the time. He recommended that I buy a house, but I didn't want to at the time. He showed me a few properties, and one of them was I think 125,000, 5 bedrooms. Yeah, yeah. So you could have easily
Oh,
invested in a house,
wow.
but that was
If I get a
again 3 years
PR,
ago.
I'm definitely moving there.
But that was 3 years ago. Even now, you can get a decent house for 200, 300, 400, that range. Again, much more economical than if you're trying to buy in the GTA or even Sudbury for that matter.
Okay, I have
Uh,
two clarifying questions. One,
yes.
when you say a house, would you say is it like an independent
Yeah,
house or
independent,
is it
detached, a typical American house that you would see in a movie with its
like
little
with the
backyard and a picket fence and all that.
no, you're not talking about an apartment, you're talking
No,
about
a
a
house, a
independent house
bungalow.
on a street. Like, okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
you can have a pet, you can have a swing, you can have a gazebo, all that good stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. The second clarifying question is, do you think there is a pay difference when you live in GTA and in Northern Ontario? Because in GTA, the whatever you make, it's almost like living paycheck to paycheck,
It
unless like you're
depends.
very strategic with the money.
I think it depends on what kind of person you are, realistically. Because if you are working in an organization, say like Walmart or McDonald's or KFC, the wages are not dictated by the location, it's dictated by the company and the minimum
Mm,
wage, right? So there's also a likelihood that you might get paid slightly higher because it's a more remote location. So to entice people to come, especially if you're in a managerial position, to entice you to move to the location, they might pay you a little higher. And the
mm,
benefit of that is that the cost of living is considerably lower if you know how to live. As in, if you can cook, if
mm,
you own a car and you're not paying that off, even then, like I, for example, I can give my example. When I first came here, I came as an assistant manager. I was not paid by the hour. I was a salaried person, which is again pretty rare, I think, in general, to be in
mm,
the salaried class, especially for immigrants in the first 1 or 2 years, right?
mm,
Because to get the employment market in Canada is based on unsustainability, constantly moving, constantly changing by the hour. What's your benefits? It's that kind of situation, right? But I came here to Capus Casing because I was salaried, and it was a pretty good salary as well. Let's it's around half 400K roughly. That was
mm.
what it was at the time. For a person like me, that's more than good because I'm not a spendthrift person. I don't have that big of an expenditure budget. I just pay my bills and save the rest. I don't go out. I don't party. I don't have collectibles. I don't wear designer stuff. That kind of lifestyle, right?
You do have collectibles. I've
I
seen your
collect stuff from the
bobbleheads.
thrift store.
Oh, okay.
I like collecting books. I like collecting CDs, cassettes, Blu-rays. I like collecting toys, toy cars and stuff, and stuffed animals. But again, ideally from the thrift stores because I want it to be vintage and lived. I
Mm,
wash it and sanitize it because, ugh. But I don't tend to buy anything that's expensive um,
got it.
right out of the market, right? Because I
Mhm.
like things that have, again, a history to them and a life
A
to them.
character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, but now I'm back to being an hourly, even though I'm another manager in another location in a different field.
Mm,
I'm hourly, and it's a much less salary than what I was making before. But I'm much happier because I don't have the stresses that you experience in, I think, the GTA, where the rent constantly going up. It's hard to find a place to live. You have to share with other people if you don't have the budget that you have. Um, Again, commute wise, I have my car, and as long as I take care of it, it's okay because the traffic here, I have one highway and a few streets. That's it. So driving is a lot less of a hassle when compared to the
mm.
GTA because I have driven in Sudbury and the GTA for a day each, and that was more than enough.
You've had your fair share of that.
Oh, yeah. I went to Timmins, for example, for shopping once, and I was at a red light and a lady rear-ended me on a
Oh,
red light. Yeah. Thankfully, um, hers was a Jeep, mine's a Hyundai. So her car got dented. Mine didn't even get a scratch, which is good.
Hyundai, please sponsor us. We have been talking a lot about you.
Please do. I like a Tucson. They're really nice. Mine's not a Tucson, but mine's a Santa Fe, bigger.
Um, I was thinking more like a monetary donation to us rather than
Yes,
like a car,
this charity
because I
does
don't
take
have a
donation.
license. Yeah.
They'll sponsor your driving license. Yeah, that will be a project in
Mm,
itself. So, like,
okay.
you have the option. So, if you your expenditures can be limited. The only thing you'll spend money on would be like groceries might be a little higher than down south because you have to bring all the food items up here. So that
Mm,
might be you might pay a little bit more premium for it. But again, it's not that big of a difference compared to. So let's compare. One bedroom apartment I have, let's say on average $700 to $800, right? If you're getting a new apartment here, maximum 1,000 for a one
and
bedroom
you're talking
apartment.
about a one bedroom, right?
Yeah, it's a whole bedroom, kitchen, hall, all of it, fully furnished, with the amenities, Wi-Fi, and everything included. You can get, I think you can rent out a house for like 1,500, three-bedroom house.
Yeah, in Toronto, one bedroom apartment all to yourself, that too, not a lot. It's not new, it's not in a fancy neighborhood, like a little bit out of downtown. I think it would be 1,800 to 2.5 easily. Easily
Okay.
1800. Anything less than 1800, and if they're giving you a one-bedroom apartment, I would be highly suspicious.
How many cockroaches? How many ghosts?
Hmm. Yeah.
How many raccoons under the basement? That sort of thing. And again, you have a free. Most places here have a free parking space and all that.
Oh, here every single I have seen, oh my God, I'm not even kidding. On Facebook Marketplace, I've seen people rent out their parking space. Like
Mm.
there are legit ads for parking space,
Oh
like
yeah.
$100 a month.
Oh.
Like this, and I'm like, wow.
So again,
It's
affordability is a factor. Again, it depends on the person you are, because if you're somebody like me who's something of a hermit, I like outdoors, but I like outdoors myself. I like going on walks. There's a park. There are trails for if you want to go skidooing, ice skating. If you have a quad bike, this is an outdoorsy
what's a
place.
skidooing?
Skidoo, skidoo is like a motorized ski. Like the it's a
Oh,
bike
is
but
it
on
like
skis.
it's like the one that you see in James Bond movies and stuff, right?
Yeah,
Like
but that's
on
on the water. This is on ice.
no, no, yeah, but
Yeah.
there is, oh my God, there is some action movie where they do this. Like there
Yeah,
is a thing.
exactly. So this is like an outdoorsy
Mm,
place. So everybody goes
mm.
hunting during the hunting season, fishing, ice fishing on the lakes. Again, almost every family has their skidoos, their skis, their quad bikes, their side by sides, which is like a car without its top and sides, where you can go into the woods and stuff, camouflage, all that good stuff. So it's that
Have
kind of
you
thing.
have you done hunting? Have you gone
No,
hunting? Do you know what they kill when they go for hunting? Is it like
Uh,
bunnies and
depending on
stuff, or
your
is it like
depending
deer?
on your license, it could be birds like the grouse,
Oh,
pheasants. I want to say you can go hunting for deer, uh,
mm.
and with the special license, you can hunt moose as well, but for a short
Oh,
window of time. Yeah,
oh,
yeah. But
okay.
again, it's harder to find. I know some of my friends they hunt moose and they make beef like jerky out of it and sell it, or they have it
Oh.
themselves. Yeah.
Have you ever bought them?
No, not yet. Because,
Okay.
but I have killed a deer. But it wasn't
Jury,
by
please
choice.
note that the defendant has admitted to murder.
It I
No,
can't
your
stand it. I can't
tears,
stand it. No,
your
it,
tears.
it wasn't a murder. It was a suicide. I was driving
Oh, I
to
know this.
Belleville.
Oh, I
Remember,
know this. Oh shit.
I was
Yeah.
driving to Belleville to meet one of my friends there and stay have my vacation there, and was the light was fading and I was driving. I was close to the city. I was just outside the city limits and I see the deer standing by the side of the road. It sees my car and I swerved and it still jumped in front of my car. Thank God I swerved. It was an empty road. Thank God I swerved. So it only hit the side. Otherwise, it would have been on my windshield and would have been in my face.
Hmm. Do you know if it died?
The
Okay, let's not
Yeah,
get
most
into it if
likely.
it is like,
I didn't even I yeah. I
let's not. Nope.
the
Sure.
irony is
Nope. It's
I
going
was
on YouTube.
the irony is that I was more than the only feeling I had was annoyance. I was more annoyed that this this animal had chosen my car. There were trucks on the road. There were
Hmm.
other vehicles on the road. There were semis. No, my car.
Hmm.
That's the feeling I had. But again,
This
so the deer in headlights, I finally understood what they mean. Just means that you're such an idiot that you jump in front of harm's way.
oh,
But
okay.
again, when I came back, most of my friends were asking, why didn't you just grab it, put it in your trunk, and bring it? I'm like, is that an option? Yeah, because people are used to hunting, right? And they know
Yeah, but then
as a
I think
menace.
there are rules along,
But
like
again, if it's roadkill, I think it's open for business.
oh,
Unless you go out into the woods and start killing deer with your car, I think it's okay.
okay, okay, that makes
And
sense.
I have seen a moose as well, only once. And again, it was dead on the side of the road.
Oh, are the
Yeah,
moose actually huge? Like,
they're huge,
right?
huge. Yeah.
I only got to know about this like a few months ago. Up until then, I was thinking moose and deer were of the same size.
Yeah,
And then
I
there
thought it
was,
was similar size as a mlava back
right?
home.
Mlao.
Mlava. Sambar deer.
Sambar deer.
Oh my God. You don't know sambar?
I know sambar, but sambar deer?
Let's see. Let me
Is
see
it
if I can.
sambal?
I think it's sambar. The sambal is also another kind of thing. Sambar. Not savariri. That's another song. Deer. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
sambar
not.
deer.
Yeah. Oh.
Wait, oh, I'm gonna screen share. Being fancy.
Yeah. Sambar deer. Yeah. Mlava. Again, I'm familiar with those animals.
Mm.
The hell? Oh, yeah. See, so I'm familiar with these because my dad used to work in the Periyar Tiger Reserve, so I've spent a lot of time in the Periyar Tiger Reserve itself, and I'm familiar with a lot of animals.
Oh my God, look at this.
Yeah,
Holy shit. Whoa. Okay. Speed, no height. Okay. Oh my God. The deer only weighs 22 to 900 pounds. Well, the starting weight for a moose is
yeah,
600 and
big boy.
1,500 pounds. 6.9 feet at shoulder,
Yeah, taller than a person.
and deer is shorter than a person.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Mm.
A moose is closer to an elephant than a deer, than any other antelope.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. Precismo. So yeah, yeah. But again, that's what this town is about. It's more outdoorsy. If you like doing that kind of stuff, this is a great place. But if you're somebody who likes parties, dancing, going out to the movies and all that, no, this isn't suited for anybody like that. I think that's why we have, I can't say we don't have a significant Northwestern Indian population here because we now do, but it's not a constant population because it's constantly cycled out because
Mm.
people again,
Get,
I think
yeah.
a lot of people prefer to show off their Gucci bags and fast cars, and you can't do that here.
Mm.
Because I'll give you an example. When I hit the deer, I came back. I had to send my car to the garage to get its parts replaced at the front, minor damages, and they gave me as a rental car a Dodge Challenger. Ugh. It's a muscle car, low to the ground.
Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
I like it.
It's not suitable for winter. It's not suitable for winter.
Mm. Okay.
Me, it's easy because I pull out of my driveway, I'm on the road, and I'm on the highway. It's fine. And my apartment takes care of the snow. They have hired somebody to come take the snow out every time it snows. So my driveway is always clean. But I know for a fact that other people's driveways are not. And
Mm.
once it snows, it can be a mess to get out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you need something high. You need an SUV or a truck because
Mm-hmm.
you need a four-wheel drive, at least all-wheel drive. So those are some of the
That,
things that
mm,
you have to keep in mind.
okay.
But it's a
Now
good
tell
place
me
to start a
about,
family.
like, to settle down.
Hmm.
I think Northern Ontario is
Yeah.
actually pretty good. Can you talk about like three top reasons why you would never move to Toronto? Or, I mean, I am
I
right, right?
yeah,
Like you would never move to
I would
Toronto.
never.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I made the conscious decision when I came to Canada that I would never live in the GTA because one, it's overpopulated and oversaturated with a certain section of Indian population that I do not vibe with. And I'm not even talking about like um, just a linguistic group or a cultural group. I'm talking about people who attitudes I do not vibe with, which is boisterous, which is uh, bringing that Indian sense of loudness.
Mm,
And I can't, if I wanted to experience that kind of backward, loud obnoxiousness, I would have stayed in India. And
mm,
again, it's a cultural difference. It's a cultural difference too. I think because again, Malayalis when we have celebrations and stuff, we can be loud, we can be boisterous, but it's always contained within a reasonable um
More often than not.
yeah,
Yeah. In
yeah,
a, yeah, in
it's
a setting.
contained. Yeah,
Yeah.
you have the space for everything. If you are at a wedding, there are certain mores you follow. If you're at the temple festival, there is a certain way you behave. And once you're out of that setting, you behave like a regular person. You have your regular life. You follow that. You're not
We
obnoxious. You're not loud all the time.
mm, I think in a different way of saying it is some people carry the discourse in their own wherever they're from into where they come
Yeah,
to be,
there's no
and they do
assimilation.
not, there is no assimilation. They do not adapt or adopt the discourse and the civic sense that exists in the society that they enter into. They rather
And yeah,
bring in what they know and just be that without being mindful and without
of the
being
people around them.
self-aware.
Yeah, yeah.
Without being self-aware.
And this
Whereas,
this applies to it doesn't mean any particular group, just a
mm,
particular group or just a particular region of people. It applies to anyone who comes in entitled and is not
mhm,
willing to adapt to the host country, right? When you
mm,
come to Canada, you adopt Canadian ways, and Canada has always been known as one of the most politest, kindest,
mhm,
most welcoming places in the world because the people are all those things. But on the flip side, because of that, I think for the longest time, people have ignored or not paid attention to the fact that others might come in bringing their baggage and not
mm,
adapt and adopt the host
mhm.
country's ethos, which I think is a real detriment to the GTA
Yeah.
in particular. I think, again, one of the reasons I would never live there is because I don't, I think the easiest way I can say is I don't want any region that has been Bramptonized, is the easiest way I can put it. I
Mm,
don't vibe with that. I remember when I went to Agra last year, it was such a culture shock for me
mm,
because it's a world away from even Bangalore or Chennai or Coimbatore or any of the other cities that I've been to that are urban spaces, but the vibe is so different, even in
mm.
Agra. Not even talking about Delhi or the other places if you go further in that direction. But yeah, it just doesn't vibe with me, and I can't stand it.
And this is not even about the culture. This is not about the Indian culture. This is not about the Indian tradition, the family traditions that we have or observe, not about the festivals. It's about, as an individual, what are you showing to the world,
Exactly.
who you are. Like, and some more often than not, it actually translates to the community. It is adapted to the community that you belong to. And
Yeah,
the
exactly.
rise in racism right now in
Assimilation
Canada.
and accommodation is lacking.
Yeah, the rise in
That's what
racism
I
in
feel.
Canada right now is somewhat justified. I mean, as far as it is,
You
it's
can see
really
the
bad.
other side.
Yes, like you do see that. Yes, you're not wrong in hating us, but please don't hate us, is what I
Yeah.
feel.
But this should be part of a longer discussion of why that's so detrimental to most Indians. Because again, India as a concept is so new. And concept,
Mm,
I mean the nation state itself. The concept of the nation state of India, the Republic of India, is such a new concept that
mm,
people don't understand how diverse, how different regions are.
mm,
And this conversation is going on in India at the same time too, right? The North-South divide,
mm,
how cultural differences and the ethos are so vastly different. Because
mm,
even within the South, again, within ourselves, we can be quite judgmental to each other because we know that Kerala people judge Tamil people and Tamil people judge Kerala people and Karnataka and Tamil Nadu have their issues. And again, there are internal issues, but there is a sense of community and there's a sense of um, how do I put this delicately? There is a sense of propriety that I think is common to all the Dravidian cultures that is
mm,
represented when we leave for another place. And I think it's evident in Canada as well. Even within Canada, especially in urban areas, people tend to communalize in a way where people tend to stick with their own communities in a way, but the way that expresses itself outside is very different between the different communities from India. Some communities tend to have their own festivals, their celebrations, and it's all done in accordance to the standards and practices of Canada.
Mm,
Others are not. And that reflects poorly on everybody else because, as an average Canadian, you don't see the difference. You are just one Indian,
mm,
right? Trying to explain the difference because this is how I try to explain the huge gap between the different regions of India. Because if India would never have been a single country if not for the experience of colonialism. That's just a historically verifiable fact. As somebody who has studied history almost exclusively for the last 10 years outside the academic setting, that's just how it was always going to be. India would never have been one independent country. But that's
mm,
again another video, I think. So, how I explain this to people is that the difference between my hometown and the capital of India, Delhi, is the same as between Toronto and like Mexico. It's that far apart. So,
yeah.
and that's only because there's only one country between Canada and Mexico. It's just the US. But even within that, there is a gradation and difference in culture, right? Even in a pseudo uniform um, geographical and cultural space like North America, that's the difference. So imagine if between India, where each 100 kilometers you go, it's a different culture, it's a different language, it's a
Mm,
different set of ethos, right? So that I think reflects poorly on us. And that's one of the reasons I won't be living in the GTA at any time. The second is, again, as much, I'm not a huge fan of urban spaces in general. I grew up in
mm,
Idiki, which is mostly the wilderness, right? Even though I grew up in the one city in Idiki that can be called a city, which is Toduvara, I spent most of my life even there in the mountains, in the boarding school where I was in Kolamava. And then because my dad worked in the forest department, we spent a lot of time in the wilderness away from the cities. So I'm more familiar and comfortable in wide open spaces with the mountains, with the trees, with the waters, with the being living in the bosom of nature. And Northern Ontario is that. It's not Banff, it's not Alberta, it's not BC, but it is still in the midst of nature. It's still surrounded and enveloped by all that natural beauty. And the wide open spaces, again, I can't stress how much I love the breathing space it provides, which
mm,
I think is lacking in the GTA and other urban spaces like Montreal, Vancouver, any of these places. I I won't be able to cope with that kind of rush and hustle and bustle, and it just doesn't sit well with me. And the third reason is the affordability.
mm,
I personally would I'm not comfortable worrying about money. I don't think anybody's comfortable about worrying about money. But me, I don't care for high paying jobs or get making a certain amount of money so that I can invest in something or to send home or to buy expensive things or any of that. I'm satisfied with whatever I make as long as it pays my bills. I can afford food on my table. I can write my books. I can read my books. I can come home at the end of the day and not feel like pulling out my hair. It just comes out by itself, but that's a different story. I don't feel like pulling out my hair every night. That's what I want in life. And that is,
mm,
I think, more achievable in areas like Northern Ontario, where it's a slower pace. It's a more relaxed environment. It's laid back. It's chill. It's chill vibes only, as the kids say.
mm.
Why? So I would flip it and ask you, why wouldn't you, as somebody who lives in the GTA and operates in that sphere primarily, why wouldn't you want to live in Northern Ontario in a remote town like Sudbury or Timmins or Hearst or Kapuskasing or one of these smaller communities? Give me three reasons.
So we have 1.5 minutes left in this meeting, and I'm gonna make it very quick.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I've already covered the commute aspect. So I'll just break it down to everyday life.
Mhm.
Everyday life aspects in the GTA for me is much, much more easier when I think about. a life in Northern Ontario. I have not lived in Northern Ontario, so I cannot make a perfect comparison. I might love it or I might just hate it. Uh, but GTA life, I know for a fact before even I moved from India, I knew that I would like it because it's a similar pace. Because I'm from Kochi, it's a very urban space, and it's one of the only cities in India. Sorry, in Kerala, like one of the better ones. The, we I There is no other city which has metro in Kerala. I think it's just Kochi.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so.
yeah. I
I'm
think
pretty sure.
Trivandrum's getting its.
Yeah, Trivandrum might be getting its one soon. But growing up in that kind of environment, growing up in that kind of hustle and bustle, it's to be in a very quiet space can be a culture shock, can be quite jarring. Um, so yeah, and regarding accessibility to services and stuff like that, I prefer to be here. But for settling down, like